They wanted me to give them my house. This was 5 years ago. I was 23F at the time and I had a friend I'll call Jane. I had known Jane for a few years but we weren't super close. She had a boyfriend and a young son and they were being evicted from their house because they spent their government assistance money on pot and neither of them could keep a job. Their house was also trashed. I had been living in a beautiful little townhouse in the same town for about a year. I was a single mom and I was receiving help from rental assistance. I worked 40 hours a week at a grueling metal manufacturing plant and was finally in a position to buy a home with my then boyfriend, now husband. My lease on the townhouse wouldn't be up for a few more months after buying the house. We were all hanging out in the townhouse when Jane said, "Well, the least you could do is let us live here since you have a house now." I told her that as much as I wish I could, I don't have the authority to let her just move in as it was heavily regulated. She threw a huge fit and threatened to call the rental assistance place and report me for not needing their assistance if I didn't let her stay in the empty townhouse. She thought for sure they'd find me or something. This pissed me off. I told her very firmly that she could go ahead and let them know the whole point of rental assistance, and assistance in general, is to bridge the gap until you can support yourself. She got all huffy and started trying to apologize once they realized she couldn't blackmail me. Then, she asked if she could live in my new house with me. I was like, did you miss the part where you just threatened me? So of course I said no. And she lost it, called me greedy and selfish, saying it would be my fault if they ended up homeless. It did suck because I know I could have made their life easier in that moment, especially for the kid, but there's no way I could get past all of the disrespect. Edit to reiterate that this took place 5 years ago. I went NC after this and never gave them another minute of my time. Her problem started when she demanded and ordered instead of asking for help. Yeah, you really wanted that kind of crazy moving on with you. Had a friend. You saw the light at least. Plus they trashed their last place, so no way should you ever consider allowing them to stay in S. place you are financially responsible for. Tell them to work the same as you. If you ever hope to be happy, do not let people move in with you, especially people like her. Enjoy your new home, congrats. So you would allow her family to move into your old place. They destroy it and you are left with a huge repair bill. Or you allow them to move in new place and can't get them out. They also eat all your food and you are left struggling with high expenses because you felt bad about them being homeless. Nope. You did the right thing by not letting them into your home. If the lease is going to be up in a few months, she wouldn't even be able to live there very long. Would she? Op made the right choice. If she had let her friend move into the townhouse, they most likely would have trashed it and left her holding the bag. Any friend that is gonna blackmail and threaten you isn't a friend and shouldn't be someone you allow to attempt to meddle in your life. Keep kicking ass, Op. These two able-bodied adults need to step up and accept responsibility for their own situation. I love how greedy and selfish entitled people always call the people whose stuff they want greedy and selfish. I really wish one of them would donate their brain to science so we could see what the hell is going on up there. I know I could have made their life easier in that moment, especially for the kid, but there's no way I could get past all of the disrespect. If you had let them move in, the disrespect would have been the least of your problems. Your one decision to not let them live with you didn't make them homeless. Their countless terrible decisions over years is what did that. I guarantee that townhouse would be fucked up when they finally move out, which certainly would be well past the lease end. Probably claim squatters' rights. Lol, how is it your fault if she's homeless? The only thing other than herself she could blame her homelessness on is rampant capitalism and a toxic, out-of-control rental market. But I doubt you had anything to do with the making of those societal ills. I usually love to bring up how capitalism is destroying society. But in this case, I feel it has more to do with the fact that she's a lazy pothead slob. And that's coming from someone who regularly smokes weed and stays home watching TV instead of going out because I don't want to put on pants. This woman's name isn't Angela by any chance, is it? Grin grin grin. A friend, now former of mine, was being evicted and she asked and then got her 14-year-old son try and get me to change my mind. She didn't try and blackmail me, but she had assumed we would let them move in with 3 kids and herself. She was actually very surprised that I said no and told people that I have no heart. My husband said there will be hell to pay if they even came over at all because of her and her sons entitled attitudes. Your friend, her hubby, could have made things so much easier for themselves if they hadn't pissed their money on pot. They are parasites. Cut them out of your life. You are not required to light yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. That's what she was asking you to do. Yeah, it's your fault that they've been irresponsible for long enough to finally get evicted for their poor decisions. Totally on you for not being their financial manager. I hate when people use their kids needing a place as an excuse for their poor actions. Yes, I feel bad for the hand the child was dealt in life. But they don't have a house because of the parents' poor choices. Not the asshole. You let her move him with you. They will never leave. They would rather do pot than take care of their kid. Don't ruin your life over people who don't give a crap and sucking the life out of others. Jane could have made her life easier by being nice or a functional adult. We all make choices. Their homelessness is of no fault of yours. Don't let her guilt trip you. Glad you stood your ground. There is no reason to let them trash any of your property, especially since they apparently can't or won't control expenses. I'd bet they don't work, or if they do, very menial work for little pay. They would have trashed the place. And you would have lost your security deposit. Why do some people feel like their bad behavior will get them what they want? I love to hate entitled people. So she threatened you, then begged you, and then tried to guilt you all in the same conversation, and this crazy woman couldn't understand why you wouldn't want to house her and her deadbeat family? Wow, talk about clueless and entitled. She is just plain stupid. Did she get dropped on her head a lot as a child or something? You need to improve the class of people you are hanging out with. Nope, it's her own fault if she ends up homeless. It would have only got worse. If you're smart, you'll cut her off. Sounds like a never-ending nightmare. Don't give them your new address. Housing assistance is heavily regulated. You applied and got housing, she didn't. You could get into a heap of trouble and or be liable for any damages rent if you allowed her to move in. It would ruin any chances of further assistance if God forbid you needed help again. She needs to apply for her own assistance. This stuff is not transferable. You would be breaking many laws if you allowed this. Let her know that most housing assistance requires clean drug tests and proof of each adult in the residence working at least 20 hours week too. It's not easy to get. And it's not usually offered in nice neighborhoods if she wants to wait less than 20-25 years. She better get going on cleaning up her act. Also, if you bring in other tenants for longer than 30 days, you would be in breach of the lease and could face eviction. Granted, this is all state-specific, but I suspect most people receiving housing assistance have similar restrictions, if not more severe. Yeah, Best not to even begin doing favors like this for these kinds of people. They will take and take until you have nothing left to give. And then they'll be mad when you can no longer help them anyway. You only set yourself up for pain and financial burden, or just getting constantly screwed over until they move on to someone else they can leech off. You're bettering yourself. Break ties with losers like her. Letting them move into either place would give you a live demonstration of how no good deed goes unpunished. So, she is blaming you for their homelessness because they spend their government assistance money on everything but housing, and can't keep a steady job. Whoa. Did she major in gaslighting 101? Hell no, if you'd have let them in, they never would have left. Keep those boundaries. You're doing it right. It would take a court order and an exorcist to get her out of your house if you let her move in. You could have made their life easier in that moment, but you did make their lives easier and they threw it back in your face. You did what could for them. They got themselves into trouble, not you. It's time for you to move on. You would be a fool to let her live in your home. She showed her true self. After the way they trashed the other house, my answer would have been hell no. How do you know these people? Yikes. Not her blaming you like you were the one selling them the pot. Not just disrespect, but her own stupid choices landed her in that situation. It's not your job to clean up her messes. NHA. Cut the problem from the start. She is problem. Yeah, nah, she was never a friend. If YPU let her move into either place, she would never leave. She would get rental assistance and not pay you. 2. Stay mad. And stay away from this woman. She will take whatever she can from you. She never would have left and would have trashed your house. You dodged a bullet. Jane's issues sound like a her problem and not a you matter up. Every last one of them. Who the hell did she think she was? Threatening you if you didn't let her live with you. With that type drama baggage this chick carries around with her, their guarantee would have manifested problems down the road. Cut ties with this girl up. The nerve of this woman. How are her choices your fault? I hate people like that. She is toxic and manipulative. Break ties. She will never be anything but a lodestone in your life. That's the kind of friend you let spend a few weeks at your house to get back on their feet. And then they just never, ever leave. Fuck her. I'd be weary of even letting her in for parties and such. Not just the disrespect I wouldn't get past. You called it a beautiful little townhouse. Why would you want to let her trash it as well and give her the chance to just stay and destroy it? While smoking up all the time? Not to mention that since you are technically still on the lease that you would be responsible for the cleaning and repairs. That's a hard no. The disrespect not even included in that. As heartless as it sounds. Oftentimes your friendships and associations have to change as your status changes. You are now a responsible homeowner that utilized entitlement social support services to better your future. These people sound as though they expect handouts versus a hand up. Sometimes you have to burn a few bridges to get away from the crazies. It sounds like this would be nothing but one headache after another. I know as women we tend to want to help, but we also must remember, as they say, that no is a complete sentence. There is no way she could live in the townhouse or your new home. She doesn't respect anything or anyone. She would have trashed both. If she trashed her last house and spent the money on weed, what makes you think she'd not do it again? And try to blackmail you too? Wow, some people block her from your life. If they trashed it, it would be on you. I've got these friends that are a couple. They are the laziest potheads you've ever seen. I'm a pothead, I can judge. Their bathroom was a horror show. The carpet ruined by their pets. It smelled like Bo and dirty pets. They are so nice and cool, but going to their house just sucked. The least you can do always gets me. No. The least I can do is nothing. Nobody is required to help someone else. I would never talk to this person again. Full stop. They'd have trashed the place and cost you your deposit, lol. If you let them in, they will never leave. They will destroy the house and leave you with the bill. Some friend she is. I'd be saying go away. If they trashed their own place and didn't pay rent, what do you think they'd do to your place? You were definitely right to tell them no. You'd never get rid of them and your new house would be destroyed. She only asked, then tried guilt you. She made the choices that would make her homeless. She made the choice to threaten you. She needs to own her life, not act as if life owes her. You'd probably be better off to cut her off completely. Many moons ago, I dated a guy like that who first lied to me that he was separated. After a few months of he always coming over to my mobile home, he tells me that he never left his wife and they have 2 kids, one his, one hers. The lease on their apartment was ending. And so he wanted to break up with me and have me give him my house because he had a family. I replied that having him sublet would be rather awkward, considering that we'd had an affair. No. He clarified. He wanted me to move out, vacate the home completely and gift it to him for free. So I could have a fresh start. No. Bye, Felicia. They would have taken you down. Maybe having no friends isn't so bad. That poor kid is doomed. Good thing you're not in Connecticut. She sounds lovely. I'm sure she has a multitude of redeeming qualities not listed here. I guess you should be grateful that it didn't go much further. I know few people who had let their friends into their homes not realizing that they were in fact wolves in sheep clothing. I would recommend full no contact. And if that is not possible, then keep your keys and your passwords far away from such people. They'd pull squatter's rights card on you and cost you everything you worked for. Sounds like she needs to read the book Your Foot Right. It's called A Long Road to In Her Ass. She is not your friend. Once you internalize that, the rest of it will work out just fine. She is an acquaintance whom you spend a lot of time with. When it comes down to it, most people have less than 10 friends. When I was younger, I used to think I had a lot of friends. I have a lot of close acquaintances. When I have people who are trying to tug at my heartstrings, I will tell them that I have 5 close friends and they are not on the list. Welcome to adulthood. This is great. This person who you don't want anything to do with just excused herself out of your life. I'd be super happy she did me a favor. Everybody has to row their own boat. Talk about dodging a bullet. They would have been with you forever, or at least until they disposed of your bodies and finally had the place to themselves. Why was this person in your home at all? You had no idea she was like this? You know who could have made the kids' life easier? The parents. It's not your fault that were a waste of space and traded their son's security for pot. I hope the kid's doing better 5 years later, but with his parents it's not looking good. These people don't deserve a nice house. I feel really sorry for their poor child. Bullet dodged. You can't help people who don't respect you. Yeah, that's fucked up. I had a friend who just casually told me they could come live with me when my ex leaves my place. But like, that's not how it works. At least have the decency to ask. You didn't make them homeless. They did that to themselves. And honestly, they can't be trusted in a home that doesn't belong to them. First they'd trash it, then they would squat and refuse to leave. You don't need their BS. Irresponsible lazy people don't have an epiphany because someone helped them and did for them what they wouldn't do for themselves. More shocked OP had sketchy ass friends like that. Leave the trash outside. No, you can't move in, and just for the cheek of threatening me, I never want to see you again. They would probably try and weasel their way around it, saying they were stressed, etc. She just showed you who she is, so you better listen. Good call. She trashed last place. She'll do it here, but it's your deposit. Nothing is ever a shitty person's fault. Sucks for her kid. Not your problem. Both of my parents smoked weed when I was born. I'm 37. And they both still smoke now. Magically they managed to make everything work out by busting their asses at work. When someone starts with the least you could do, I stop listening. F that noise. I don't owe you shit. Your instincts were correct. That couple was nothing but trouble. You did the right thing. She would have trashed your new home. People like that do not respect other people's property. Imagine if you let her move in with you. That would have been a freaking nightmare. This is going to sound weird, but I recommended loaning her a small amount of money. Small enough that you're okay with never getting it back. Big enough that she'll not be able to pay it back. Contact her once every 3 months for a year asking if she has the money yet, and you'll likely never have to deal with her ever again. Incorrect use of quotation marks. VCG by JKHGFGGU. They could have made their own lives easier just by paying the rent. Congratulations on sticking up for yourself, op. I once got more or less bullied into taking in someone who'd managed to screw themselves out of their last home. I finally got rid of them after a year and multiple physical altercations. Stay away, parasites gonna mooch, and they're never happy. The don't leave until the host is dead. Never feel bad for working to improve yourself and your situation. Many more will try riding your coattails. Hopefully these are the easiest to shake off. It's amazing what pot does to your critical thinking skills. She wanted to call and try to get you in trouble for misusing assistance. All the while her and her BF use theirs to buy weed. LMAO. It's not your fault that they would rather spend their money on pot rather than keep a roof over their child's head. You can still help the child by reporting them to CPS. At least then she will have a chance at a decent home. It's good she showed her true nature sooner than later. She would have fucked that apartment too. People who don't work for their own things don't value things. Yeah. Let her stay in the townhouse and she'll trash it and leave you to pay for it. Let her live in your new house and she'll trash that. Your friend is incapable of respect. Right, so they can trash the townhouse. No is a complete sentence. I don't know where she found the audacity, but she needs to put it back. No, it is their fault if they end up homeless. No one else's. The fact you know they wouldn't have looked after the house even if you had let them stay. They had proved that already. A person asking you to commit fraud is not a friend. You will get ahead with good decisions. She will not. Best wishes. These are not your friends. Say hi in public and be kind. Don't answer calls. Don't respond to texts. Just let them fade away. Please. Not the asshole. I'd be making a call to Child Protective Services. Tell them about your friend's child living in filth. With unemployed, pot smoking, about to be homeless parents. I bet if you had let them move in, they wouldn't pay rent and they would trash it. I'm glad you kicked her to the curb. What a selfish bitch. My sil told her parents they should swap homes because she just had a baby and they don't need the larger home they had. She lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment. Some people are just entitled. She is in her 40s now with 2 kids and her parents are still subsidizing her lifestyle. Stop spending time or effort on ex-friends. People like this are just not worth the effort. You used your government assistance to make something happen for yourself. You worked hard and got ahead to where you could take care of yourself and you should be proud. She, on the other hand, did not work hard but smoked away her government assistance. Trashed the place so kindly lent to her, and how do you know she wouldn't have also trashed your townhouse and never thought twice about her child? Don't feel guilty. Don't think about her at all. She's an adult. It's her problem. Does she have addiction issues? So you have no idea what became of them. Through mutual friends, acquaintances, for instance? Also, you did the right thing. Why do so many of these stories involve North Carolina? Good for you. You can't help people who don't help themselves. They would just continue to being selfish and then expect you to take up their slack. Then they would say, well, you knew we were worthless. What did you expect? You were so right in letting them reap what they sowed. Sorry. Not sorry. Never help people who won't help themselves. Wow, the moment when long-term friends become acquaintances. Dealing with addicts never ends well. Good on you for going NC. I hope you have found better friends than that posse. I think that the OP did and handled it the right way. As I was reading this, it reminded me of my entitled sister-in-law and her family. They can't get a job or hold on to because of their drug habits. The last job her husband held was a security job at HEB, and they fired his ass because they found him drunk and passed out in that little golf car that he was to drive around the parking lot. However, they feel like we should take care of them because they are Christians. After all, they go to church every Wednesday and Sunday. Yeah, you have to wonder about some people. She showed her true colors. Do you realize that if you had them stay even 3 days in your new home? In most states she could claim tenants' rights and it would be next impossible to legally make them leave. You dodged a bullet. Some people you can trust to help out and some people you cannot. It's sad but true. The whole point of rental assistance, and assistance in general, is to bridge the gap until you can support yourself. I just want to know where the hell you live that you qualify for assistance until you can outright buy a house. I want in.